Good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see that this button actually works. So, okay. Hi everyone. Hello. Hi.
Would be great if everyone could introduce themselves. Like, where are you coming from?
What do you do for a living? What's your dog
What is the
name,
weather? Yeah. What is the stock exchange? COVID situation.
Dish.
Yeah. How much you've lost on Bitcoin last week?
On Bitcoin.
Share pictures of your pets. Always up to that.
Crappy weather in NTs.
Magento developer from Sander's living room. Oh, right.
Oh yeah, that's
close.
Great. Yeah.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
Great.
There's a lot of Magento here. What's going on?
So we're gonna all come back to Magento community. Yeah.
Hi, people from FQ. Hi.
Hey, Justinas.
Great.
Okay, so I think we are going to wait another 2 minutes, and we are going to start. I see that there are some people still joining us. Some are leaving, actually. So.
Great.
Some are leaving. Oh wow, yeah. They took one look and they were like, nope. Not do this.
So for everyone here, it's all about Nicolas playing piano.
Yeah.
It was a fake webinar clickbait.
Yeah, actually, no. Basically, co-founding a company was a side job. I'm playing piano commercially, so this is what I do for a living. And I wanted to invite you all here and use it as basically a sales pitch.
We got a good salary for this. Promote your piano concert.
Yeah, at least a salary that covers,
listening to you
or the piano lease. So. Okay, so we had like 100 people registered, but I'm pretty sure that not everyone's going to join. But we have half of those people with us already, so I think it's a good sign to start. So hi everyone. Just as an introduction, my name is Mikołaj Król. For those who might not know yet, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bitback, and for the most part of the past decade, I've been in e-commerce as a software engineer, later on as a consultant, and finally as the founder of my own agency that's focused on delivering e-commerce solutions for worldwide clients on technologies like Shopware, Sylius, and others. And we are often asked a question: what's actually the difference between Shopware and Sylius? So I felt like, hey, why not using the connections I have and invite guys who might answer the question in the best way possible. So here they are, and today I feel like we are going to give you some more details about what the differences between those two amazing vendors are. So guys, can you basically introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do for a living, and who do you work for, starting with Sander maybe.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. Sander Mangel, originally Dutch, now living in the beautiful country of Italy. I am solutions architect at Shopware, so I help agencies and retailers get the best out of Shopware and placing it in their application landscape. So background in PHP development mainly, so I've done a lot of Magento and other solutions, even touched Sylius a couple of times. Very excited to be speaking here.
Okay, thank you, Sander. Tim, your turn.
Thank you, Nicolas. At first, that you come up with this initiative, it's great. I'm Tim, and I do consultancy for 5 years at Sylius. Actually, I also manage sales and a lot of strategic things regarding business partnerships. I still have a good track record on active advising on the biggest customers we have. And well, today I'm in the role of webinar presenter, and I'm speaking about the roles to kind of advertise our internal management system called Holacracy. There are various roles I have but in general, today it's consultancy and sales.
Okay, so guys, starting the battle. So starting with Sander, maybe, if you had to describe your vendor with one sentence, what would it be? So like a jingle.
A jingle. In that case, you really have to play the piano and give me a bit of an intro. Now, so I think if I had to describe Shopware as a company, it would be a partner in building reliable web shops with a quick time to market and most of all an extensive ecosystem.
Okay. What about the vendor itself? So like
the platform. So I think it's your standard PHP solution. We strive to deliver clean code. We strive to deliver modularity. I think that's a very important one. Trying to incorporate the best of breed technologies such as Vue.js. Big fan of that. Symfony, of course, as a framework. And making sure that we cover all the basics that you might need in e-commerce, from having a cart to taxes to managing products and building CMS pages. Is that one sentence? There's a lot of comments.
Yeah, that was a very complex sentence, but obviously, it answered the question. So, Tim, what about Sylius then?
Okay, I'll try this. Headless open source e-commerce platform for enterprise dev teams. That's a long slogan, but it kind of consists of all the.
Yeah, you forgot built on top of Symfony.
On top of Symfony, obviously, but we are all on top of Symfony these days, right? But that's for a platform, for a vendor. So the company behind it. One sentence. That's gonna be difficult to be special here. What can I say? I can say we are a bunch of young people from Poland that trying to disrupt the e-commerce world, not only in technology but also in the way people collaborate. Because if you think about digital transformations, it's always about management, some priorities, some goals of the company. So. Without getting into further details, I think that think much covers what we think and how we approach the market.
So continuing with Tim, could you please tell us a bit about the foundations or the abstract concept and what differs Sylius among other platforms in e-commerce?
I would say the biggest UVP is the closest possible relationship with the Symfony ecosystem. I mean, all the platforms are currently founded. I mean, not all, but a lot of PHP platforms have some Symfony relations, some bundles, some components, some are fully written in Symfony. But what is unique about Sylius, especially for people with the technical perspective that understand what is Symfony as a framework, that's really a huge value, because we've been doing it for 10 years. And out of all platforms since that moment in history, since Symfony 2, we are the only one that survived and only one that is thriving and doing well. And it can be easily seen in the quality of code. It's 100% pure Symfony code. In the relationships we have business-wise with Symfony family, so Symfony SaaS as a company and Symfony core team, Sensio Labs as a training center and development center, Smile as a partner who has shares in Symfony, also Platform SH. There is a big, family of Symfony-related companies. So I think this is our biggest value in terms of technology and business. Of course, more could be said, but I think that Sylius is.
We are covering it in a second, I guess. So
Sander,
so the same question: the abstract philosophy behind Shopware.
Yeah, so Shopware believes in creating an experience when you're selling something. So what you'll find as a user of Shopware, as an admin user, as a marketeer, for example, or an e-commerce manager, you'll find a lot of tools to, for example, create beautiful, engaging pages. But we also have features like Rule Builder and Flow Builder that enable non-technical people to really leverage the platform in a powerful way, to automate some of the process behind it. So to really enable teams to build their own e-commerce experience. And that frees up developers to build out the technically challenging features, right? So we try to have a clean coded platform that leverages industry standards such as Symfony, but also Vue.js. We really believe in giving tools to developers and not so much just a finished product that you might need to tweak here and there, right? Because developers eventually know best how to build a solution. So for example, if you're into a headless front end and PWA, we have a Shopware front end framework where you can integrate with our Vue.js components, but you could also, for example, build your own React store font on top of that. So again, focusing on tools for developers and focusing on very robust storytelling platform for the end user in the admin.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So Sander, can you please also tell us a bit more about what the specific key strengths of Shopware are? Let's say I'm a C-level manager of any kind. Why would I decide to use Shopware?
Yeah, I think the first thing that really sells this, I think, is the ecosystem. We have a very big ecosystem of technology providers, of integration solution specialists. And so in pretty much every country in Europe, you can now find partners that you can work with. We partner with local payment service providers, with local shipping providers, and what have you. So there's less of an investment to get started. I think that's very important. Again, a quick time to market. Of course, every project takes time to build, but I think just setting up the basics is done fairly quickly, and then you can really start to focus on making it your own experience, because that's what it's all about, right? To sell your brand, to tell the story of your products, and that can be done with tools like the shopping experiences and developers building on top of that.
Okay.
So that's why you should choose Shopware.
Okay, so Tim, key advantages of Sylius.
I think I started with Symfony, but maybe I didn't get the question because you asked about architecture foundations, right? In the previous question.
Yes, I'm actually asked about the philosophy behind the vendor. Okay. So what drives it, and
so to connect this answer to the previous one, the philosophy is to deliver a framework rather than a platform. So similar to what Sander said, that we were trying to provide methodologies, bundles, and the stack for developers to create whatever they want, whatever experience they desire. And that's, I think, the core philosophy for now. As for more arguments for Sylius, I'd say that we also have radical approach to independence and freedom of development. So you can tell it when you look at our structure, which is transparent. You can tell it when you look at our code, and also the licensing model, which we're gonna talk about later. But in general, we want to give out what we have best and let the people that know their space, their domain, to develop the things they need for business, for technical aspects, and whatever they need.
Okay, so what about the weak spots of Sylius?
Oh, actually, when Sander was speaking about ecosystem, I think this is honestly where we are behind, clearly. I mean, Sylius is doing business since 2017, since the 1.0 release. Before, we was just like an open source solution without any strategy, in making business, expanding to markets whatsoever. So if you even compare the ecosystems, Sylius ecosystem is much smaller in terms of ready-to-use plugins, for example, but it still has a lot of right now 55 agencies all over Europe and 2 in both Americas. So it's growing very fast, but it's much smaller, definitely. You cannot compare it to platforms that are on the market for 20 years or 12 years or more. We're just 5 years here.
Okay. Yeah. What about other disadvantages? Because I guess
Yeah. I just needed a breath. So yeah, there are a lot of disadvantages. Every code and every product on the world has some disadvantages. If somebody tells you that my product is ideal, he is lying.
This is why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
So-
Honestly, well, it depends also on the perspective. So, for example, from the perspective of a small merchant, there are a lot of disadvantages because Sylius simply is not a product that fits to the needs of the small merchant. You need to hire at least one developer to comprehend it, to develop what you need. You need to spend at least, I don't know, I think 10k euro is the minimal amount that you have to spend on a very simple Sylius store, or I guess the average is 30, 50k. So it's not a solution for small stores. It's a solution rather for upper medium market and enterprise market where you have greater complexity. We do not provide hosting like Sylius Cloud. There is nothing like that yet. We have hosting partners. So if somebody is like cloud oriented, that I pay a bill and I can forget about DevOps and everything, this is not Sylius as well. So it can be a disadvantage. But on the other hand, it can be an advantage if you prefer to have full control and independence, right? So yeah, perspective is what changes the advantage disadvantage vector.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, probably limits would be the better word here.
Limits. But it's you know this question frequently pops up, and we haven't really we didn't get any reports that would tell us that Sylius is limited somehow in terms of performance. So maybe more specific questions if you have in mind, then go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll cover that in a second, but also same question for Sander. So in terms of disadvantages of Shopware, what pops into your mind?
Yeah, I'll actually second what Timo says. It's all about perspective. So, for example, Shopware is quite opinionated when it comes to their solution, right? I think where you find that Sylius is way less opinionated. So I think there is a tipping point where you could say that if you want to build a certain solution in Shopware, you're actually fighting more against Shopware than you're working with Shopware, and then it might make more sense to go for example, Sylius. So again, for me, it's all about perspective. Other points that maybe are to be taken into account for Shopware 6 is we're fairly young. Shopware 6 itself is now, I think, 2 years on the market. Shopware itself has been around for 20 years, but it's a young platform. So what you see is that there's, for example, less questions and answers on Stack Overflow at this point, or less blog articles out there. We're seeing a pickup in that, but it can always be better. So that's definitely something. Other disadvantages. We just started with our SaaS product. I think it's an interesting proposition to pursue. I don't think you should do only SaaS. I think it's a nice addition to offer. Just like Timo said, it's nice to offer the option for merchants to not worry about hosting. But again, that is a fairly young product. At the same time, we are quite committed to having on-prem and open source solutions. So I think if you really want to benefit most from Shopware, go for on-prem and work with one of our hosting partners, which are amazing.
Okay, that's cool. So guys, you both mentioned about the dependence of advantages, disadvantages. So maybe let's talk about the perfect merchant fit. So who's the perfect merchant? So if you had to describe for Shopware, Sander.
Sorry, can you say that one?
So yeah, the perfect client. The perfect fitment. Like.
Yeah, I think in general, I would say upper SMB up to, let's say, some smaller enterprise. We sometimes say 5 to 50 million, but I think that is a bit black and white. In general, it's a retailer that is a bit more mature with their e-commerce team, right? We're not talking about someone sitting in their garage selling their own knitted sweaters. We're looking at more mature retailers, maybe with a small e-commerce team, with a marketeer that can really use these tools that we're providing to them. In general, we like to see them working with a solutions implementer and not just clicking it together by themselves or having an in-house development team. I think that's the way you get most from Shopware. If you don't want to do that, go to Shopify, for example. I think they have a wonderful solution for smaller merchants. If we're looking on the upper side, so enterprise, I think bigger enterprises might look more towards commerce tools, or maybe if they have a very unique proposition, they might be looking at Sylius, right? Again, less opinionated and more freedom to choose. But we have found that bigger enterprise clients that see themselves fit in the philosophy of Shopware choose Shopware, and that works really well. So again, it's all about perspective. If you fit in the solution and in the philosophy that Shopware provides, so building experience and that kind of stuff, go for it. If not, there are so many options out there right now, and you should be exploring all of them.
So you are telling us a lot about the experience. So is it like Shopware is more towards B2C segment, where this experience, like, or this marketing, building pages, and creating beautiful user experience actually matters?
That's a good question. So we have a B2B suite, and what that offers mostly is, I think, in the customer account section, where you can make a hierarchy with purchasing improvement and that kind of stuff. We have a quick order list feature and what have you. You can do B2B in Shopware, although I think B2B is a very broad understanding. But I think also B2B is ready for a bit more of an experience, let's say. But I think if you're looking for a very specific B2B experience where it connects to your SAP system, or you can send a fax or what have you, definitely there are better solutions out there.
Okay, Tim, the perfect Sylius customer.
As I said in the first answer about our one sentence slogan, enterprise or upper mid market. So I would say above this 15 millions. I'd say from 20 millions of revenue. That's beginning to be fun for Sylius. But it's a perfect one. If you look at the current situation, out of 3,000 stores that we currently have worldwide, I'd say 95% are the lower mid-market, so 1 to 10 million. But I question if it's always a good choice for Sylius, because I am totally with Sander here that Shopify's BigCommerce and other SaaS platforms are ruling the small market. So our solutions are for more complexity, definitely. And I would say the slight difference here is that we are trying to target the bigger the upper segment. You can call us crazy as a small company from Poland, open source, spirits, etc. That we are trying to battle giants like Adobe, Commerce Tools, Spryker, Vitex, etc. But we do compete with them in various tenders. So the ideal merchant is the ideal buyer persona is a CTO of a large major company that is doing e-commerce for 10 years or more, and that is ruling the technological stack that is legacy. So using different tools that are not supported, not customizable, etc. And there is always this moment of decision of migration to a new tool. So if we are talking to somebody who praises the freedom of development, praises the independence from the cloud provider and other corporate SLAs, blah, 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 then Sylius is definitely the perfect fit. So upper segment, I would say upper segment alternative to enterprise, corporate, closed source providers.
Okay. Yeah. So as you said, one of your key advantages is that you are based on Symfony. So you are more like a technical product rather than a platform. So I liked your slogan back in the years that you are actually not a platform, you are an e-commerce framework, which I feel like fits best the philosophy behind Sylius.
If I can just add 2 cents. there are some examples of so-called enterprise startups. So VC-funded startups that are just starting the e-commerce adventure, and they know that they will scale fast, and they have very custom business buyer journey. Business requirements are quite complex, and then Sylius also fits. So yeah, but as somebody just wrote here on the chat. You can see in the same segment both Shopware and Sylius implemented, and it's talking about perfect merchant. It's a little bit of what we imagine.
It's always a trap. The best answer to any question in IT is it actually depends. And yeah, but somehow we need to like the core understanding on what kind of factor it actually depends. So just to summarize. From what I understand, and actually from my experience, Shopware is a perfect fit for, let's say, small, medium business who needs some kind of flexibility, but they're okay with getting something out of the box, actually a ton of features, because obviously Shopware has a better out of the box experience. They have this page builder, great user experience, and they're really, I feel like, beloved by marketing. When on the other hand, there's Sylius, which is obviously, to me, it's obviously a better technical product. So if the team needs like a set of tools to build an e-commerce, they should opt for Sylius instead.
I would almost say if you're evaluating to build a project and you can do it with, let's say, Shopware plus 10 plugins plus 20% of custom code, go for Shopware. If you figure out that you actually need 60 plugins and about half of it will be custom code, which is overwriting core components of Shopware, you should be going with Sylius, because Sylius gives you a lot more freedom and gives you actually the solution to craft your own experience. Or if out of the gate you already know that you're not going to be focusing on very standard transactional commerce, but you want to do some crazy stuff out there, and you need maybe just a cart component or something like that, go to Sylius. Again, I think it makes a lot more sense for that.
Yeah, and I think we should quote those sentences and put them
at the same time, I can tell even from our yesterday's call with a customer who wanted a maximally ready solution, like a set of plugins from the same vendor, stable core, and maybe even already prepared hosting, like a type of customer that doesn't want to bother with technology. Then Shopware is much better choice, to be honest. So Sylius is better and shines better when you wanna build technical skills inside your company. Yeah.
Okay.
And Nicholas, one question: how do you want to approach the Q&A at the end or during?
I feel like we will have some time in the end for the questions. So yeah. So obviously you can ask them in the meantime, but I would really like to stick to the agenda we have first, so that we can have enough time to address any questions of the attendees. All right. So Sander. Actually, from my experience, the choice of which platform a business moves forward with is also dependent on the region where basically the platform is most popular with. It's usually connected to integrations it has, proven case studies, or even like habits or culture, or how easy it is to hire developers in that region. So where actually is Shopware most popular in?
Well, that's an easy one, Germany. I think the DACH region is where we traditionally are the strongest. So for sure, that's the strongest ecosystem. We have a big local team. But coming in after that is Benelux, where we also have quite a big team on the ground that speak Dutch. We are working on getting a Belgian colleague as well. So again, strong local presence. Also a lot of technology providers that we connected to in that region. UK, the same, we have a team there. So when you're talking to sales, you're talking to a local person. When you need the solutions architect, we have that there. Nordics, we just started. Italy is coming in hot at the moment. We have a great country manager, Davide. I visited a partner with him yesterday. It was a lot of fun. And then Poland, we have a team also there, which is fantastic. And last we started just in the US, where we have Ben Marks. He is building up his team now. So those are the countries where we have a strong local presence, and I think in general that's good for the retailer, especially the ones that maybe are a bit skittish about getting into e-commerce. It's nice to be able to talk in your own language. What we see, and I think that Timo will say the same thing, is when you have a retailer that is very strong technically, their IT team tends to already speak English quite well, and it doesn't matter too much. Then it just comes down to maybe some integrations that give you a benefit. But for local retailers, we see that it's quite a benefit to have that local presence.
Okay, that actually, I have a follow-up question. There was a joke in the developers community that in order to learn Shopware, you need to learn German first. How present it is nowadays?
But my German is horrible, so I think I'm proven that it's not required anymore. We have a great new initiative, Shopware United, which is a community focusing on English-speaking developers and retailers as well. I think that was sorely needed.
Okay.
You're right. When we started, or when I came into Shopware, a lot was still in German, both within the company as well as externally in the community, and we've pivoted away from that because Germany is a great country, but it's at the end a limited market, right? So you should be expanding your horizons.
Yeah, actually, I feel like it changed with Shopware 5, Shopware 6 migration, because Shopware 5, which was basically a different product, was very focused and built on top of German market experiences. So the joke is not valid anymore. So
no, sorry.
Okay, so same question for Tim. So where is Sylius most present in?
Very soon we could invent a joke here that you need to learn French to be up to date with everything. Because surprise, surprise, Viva la France, as a Polish company, from the very beginning, we've been doing most of the business in France. And if you think of it more deeply, it's not that surprising because Symfony origins are French. The Fabien Potencier, who invented Symfony, is living in, I don't know if he still lives there, but it was all invented in Clichy near Paris. And every PHP developer in France loves Symfony. In Lille, okay, thank you, Patricia. So I think here what paid off is that Pavel, Sylius founder, 10 years ago when he put the first lines of code to GitHub, he did it on Symfony, pure Symfony code, which was growing everywhere, but obviously mainly in France. And then also the fact that it was English, like all the documentation, all the communication was English. For a Polish guy back then, it could have been quite obvious decision because this is how the entire GitHub and the entire open source community is communicating in English. So we are kind of taking fruits of these decisions that were made by Pavel 10 years ago at his flat in Łódź. It's crazy when you think about it. It's the power of open source, really. After France, obviously also the ACH, so the German region, which is, Germany is the biggest European economics. So even if you have Shopware, Spryker, Commerce Tools, Oxid, Intershop, and every 5 solutions that are German, there is still place for other solutions. Yeah. So obviously our market share in Germany is like 0.001 maybe, but it's growing. Some big enterprises are trusting us, and we want to enter this market like we did with France in the second half of this year with the country manager and operations.
Okay, so yeah, actually this shows that the strong connection with Symfony you have, because
absolutely,
from what I see in case of other vendors, it's like everyone is based on Symfony nowadays, but it's like there are using Symfony, but they are also introducing a lot of middleware, which basically elevates the entry barrier for developers. And somehow Sylius is using all of the Symfony as it is, and basically, if somebody knows Symfony, he should be easy to.
And just to add,
start,
obviously Benelux, obviously Spain and Italy, and obviously Poland, which is our home country. It's growing here, but there is no strategy. Like in France, we already have 3 people. Started with 1 person, Kevin, in October. So there is a strategy to grow on this market. Then German market, all the other markets, they work thanks to open source.
Yeah, actually, just it popped to my head because according to Built With, a lot of stores on Shopware are also built in United States, and we are just mentioning countries from Europe. So Sander, how is it in basically in US or Australia or?
So Australia, I'm pretty sure we don't have a lot of presence. In the US, we are starting to build our team, so we're starting to talk to merchants, and funny enough, we figured out that there's actually quite a bit of stores, especially on Shopware 5 still, which we were completely surprised about. So a lot of retailers actually reaching out to Ben and saying, "Hey, it's great to see there's a US presence." I mean, the US is obviously a very enticing market, right? It's huge. There's a lot of opportunity. I think it has somewhat of a, if you're in the US, I think people start to notice you. And I think with our ambitions to grow to the US, you also saw we got noticed by Gartner, etc. But it's early days, and dealing with the US is a whole new set of challenges that you have to dig into, right? So anything from sales decks to different shipping providers and what have you. So we're just starting on that. We have a dedicated team looking into making it ready for the market there. But yeah, we started our first project, so that's exciting. We signed our first partners. So we're coming.
Okay, cool. Tim, would you like to add any other countries outside of Europe?
If you look at Built With, US is also the first on the list, probably because it's the country with, after China, with the biggest percentage of people doing online sales. But also it's maybe because the default locale in Sylius when you install it is ENUS. So don't trust it too much. But yeah, open source is very surprising. Like Shopware 5 in Australia, who would think about it, right? It's the same with Sylius. I mean, people use us in Sri Lanka or Senegal. I recently discovered there is a young startup founder from Senegal that is building something called Java Store, which is basically a software as a service on Sylius. So he's taking our free libraries to build a paid commercial product to be a Shopify for Senegal. So it's like amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it in open source. You never know.
Yeah, but this is what we are talking about in case of the core difference between Shopware and Sylius, a framework rather than a platform. So it's much easier to be creative if you get a set of tools. But it could be a limitation at the same time.
I'd say if you are in front of a challenge to build your own commerce app, then Sylius could be the best choice on the market. Like you can take any bundle you need and build your order management system, build your shipping app, build your software as a service, e-commerce, something. It's for white labeling. It's perfect software.
Okay, Sander, 3 case studies, Shopware or you as part of the Shopware are most proud of.
Yeah, so I think to start with Joop from Poland, I think that's a beautiful case. It's yope.me. It's a very cool case done by a local partner, which just looks beautiful. I think the second one that I like to highlight is notebooksbilliger.de, which is maybe not the most exciting shop, but the fact that we got to work together with their internal development team and with their actually this is a retailer that has a strong open source spirit. They have their own GitHub account, so they contributed a massive amount of code that really shows the power of being an open source platform. And I think that for me was just hearing that case was amazing. And then the last one is Syntegeria.it, which they built the first Shopware PWA store anywhere. Very early on, I think it wasn't even fully in production yet, and they did an amazing job. And the thing that really blew my mind is they didn't know Shopware, so they took Shopware and they leveraged the APIs we have, the Shopware PWA frontend that we have, and really built it out to basically what is a like early odds flash game for fashion, which is just amazing. I'll post the links in a bit in the chat. But those three case studies for me were just amazing, and they really show the spirit of open source and the spirit of creative IT teams that use Shopware as a way to deliver amazing experiences.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so same question goes for Sylius.
So I have to start with a comment, because we talked to Notebooks Billiger like 4 years ago, but we were not mature enough for such a serious player. It's a top electronics consumer goods provider in Germany. So congrats on winning this. But it shows actually how close our solutions are in many aspects. Well, some say I shouldn't be saying it, but on the top of the list, or if you click on Build With and go to Sylius France, you're gonna see the ticketing system of PSG, one of the biggest clubs in the world, actually. So if you wanna buy a ticket for a Messi or Neymar game every second week, you do it via Sylius, also in digital kiosks on the stadium. So it's multi-channel, both physical and online. This is an excellent example of omni-channel. The other example could be quite recent, also from France, Intersport Rent, a quite famous sport group, which used Sylius to apply a rental system. So you can imagine of a very customized product journey. The product is sometimes secondhand. It gets back to the vendor. It is on a specific time frame being used by the customer. So multiple events have to happen on this journey. That's really great implementation. What else I could say? All these NDAs, right? Yeah, well, maybe it's also not a secret. We collaborate. I mean, we do not collaborate very directly, but the project is being developed by Greenwiz, which is the biggest biofood provider in France, and it's part of Carrefour Group. A very similar, like a daughter company, Planeta Huerto from Spain. They also are top seller for the bio food industry in Spain.
Yeah, actually, by accident, I know a company who was participating in this project. But yeah, this is also very challenging.
Just a small advertisement. Next week, we're gonna publish a PDF called 12 use cases of Sylius, showing that Sylius could be used for booking systems, subscriptions, B2C, B2B, marketplace, everything. So yeah, stay tuned.
Obviously, all of the case studies could be probably found on both Sylius and Shopware page. Yeah. And a little advertisement regarding this Carrefour Planeta Huerto Greenwiz case. You can also read it on Bitback page. So yeah, I encourage you to check it out after the webinar. So guys, actually, basically, obviously, Shopware and Sylius doesn't live out of open source. You are selling commercial license, and yeah. So regarding Shopware, yeah, what is the enterprise license all about? Who should actually consider it? What doesn't it include, and why would somebody want to buy it?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of difference between the open source and enterprise. In general, they have the same features, but you find that the enterprise license has been built out a bit more. So there's nothing that you wouldn't be able to do on open source that you can do on enterprise. It just saves you some time to have that enterprise license. Foremost, the B2B features. So this complex system of being able to approve purchases and that kind of stuff. You're able to map your own SKU to a manufacturer part number, which a lot of B2B clients find handy. So this kinds of features that's ready to go. We have a feature called Flow Builder, which in enterprise has a lot of functionality, which basically is a business process modeling tool where anyone, even with no code skills, can, for example, say that any order paid with a certain payment method should go also as an email to the finance department to be checked, or should call a webhook in Slack, or should be sent to an ERP system, right? So it enables teams to do stuff without developers. So that's a nice part. So those are the kinds of features that you'll find in enterprise. Plus, and this is mostly for the team developing it. If the client has an enterprise license, it means that the agency's team gets access to our customer support team. And our customer support team is not just some people answering the phone. It's actually developers that know the product, that know the technology behind it, and it will support you officially with core features. But if you have a question about, I want to build this feature, I don't really know how to approach it, they'll sit down with you and they'll walk through it. We have people that can help you on implementing the solution, which is amongst others me. So we might come by and do a workshop with you to kind of leverage the solution to the fullest. And then for agencies, for enterprise license, we can also help with sales, right? So we'll go in, we'll do demos and all that kind of stuff, which can be a big benefit. So that's what an enterprise license offers. It's a one-time fee that you pay, and then after that you have an SLA every month, but it's nothing with revenue or whatsoever. So it's just that one-time payment, and then you just pay for the support.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, that was quite an extensive answer. So same question goes for Tim.
So the precise question is, what is included in the enterprise
Yeah,
license?
actually, the question is a bit more complex. So yeah, what is included in the enterprise license? When should you aim for it, and why would you want to buy the enterprise license? Also, if you could tell us a bit more about the pricing model, would be great.
Okay. Enterprise is obviously for the enterprise segment, so rather bigger than smaller companies. And there are two main verticals. One is the features. So you get the package of code that extends the standard code base, but it's being developed by the same dev team in the same biweekly sprints. So it's basically very close to the core. And there are features like multi-everything. So it adds you the multi-source inventory, return management, loyalty, multi-channel administration. So it's like for big store owners that operate in multiple countries, have to have multiple store managers for different regions, have multiple warehouses. So yeah, for rather big cross-border sales. And the second vertical is SLA. So I think we are not reinventing the wheel. So you have the comfort of having a direct contact to the core team. Actually, our support engineers are the core team members. So you're not talking to somebody from somewhere, like usually it happens in the corporate SLAs, but with people that really know their domain. And maybe the third benefit, which is rather unusual, is the partner approach to these relationships. So the enterprise customers are really the stakeholders. We take into account their needs for roadmap. We seek for win-win possibilities to get some features sponsored. For example, Dr. Edgar from Netherlands, they sponsored 2 years ago the loyalty system that is being used by their website and their company in the Netherlands, but it also got into the product. So it's for the benefit for everyone that is buying the license now. And the last thing, the pricing, right? So right now the the pricing varies from 15 to 72k euros annually, and it depends on GMV. So it's not like one-time payment with Shopware. But we are also experimenting with something that we internally call pricing calculator. So we're trying to be as modular and transparent as we are with all other things, our company structure, documentation, everything. So you could actually pay for the value that you buy. So it's called value-based pricing, right? So you select the level of SLA, the amount of features, the amount of man days spent on the services, and you get the direct quote. But you know, it's so-called contact sales to get a quote right now. Yeah,
obviously it depends. So
yeah, but you have to remember it starts from 15k, and that's it for now. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So those were all the questions I had in my mind for some time now. I feel like there might be some questions from people who joined us. So now is the good time to ask them on chat or go through the questions that were asked in the meantime. Actually, the first one that I can see, what do you guys think about PrestaShop? That's an interesting one.
It's the last one actually, but yeah.
Yeah, but the first one I've seen. So.
Sander, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I've built one PrestaShop shop, and it was a while back. The biggest issue I had was all the French documentation, which required a lot of Google Translate. I think it's a good solution, right? For smaller shops, I think it's a valid solution, and I'm sure that if you're a very proficient PrestaShop developer, you can do amazing stuff with it. So it's a nice solution and definitely worth checking out.
I'd say that when I was learning, e-commerce landscape back in time when I was like fresh to the industry, for me there was a clear phenomenon that PrestaShop and Shopware 5 are the same but for different regions. So PrestaShop was invented in France and was very, very popular in this market. Also software in Europe. Also in Poland, it's very popular. And Shopware did the same, but for the German-speaking countries. So you have a ready-to-use solution with thousands of plugins. And yeah, if I were to start a small store right now, I would probably go with Shopify, Squarespace, or Wix. But if I were a developer, maybe I would play with WooCommerce or PrestaShop. I know that they have partnered up with some big player from Italy right now, so I don't know if they are going to be a software as a service, or I also heard they are trying to upscale to the upper segment. For me, this platform is rather doesn't have a clear value proposition. To be honest, it's very popular, but I don't know about the future.
I think everyone was mystified about the mailboxes.
Yeah.
We're all wondering what's coming out of that.
I think it could be like a all-in-one SaaS for small stores, really, to compete with Shopify and others in the segment.
Actually, nowadays there's a lot of software for this segment, and actually it seems like Shopify is eating all of them.
But hey guys,
a lot of competition. So
looking at the quantity, PrestaShop totally wins with Shopware and Sylius merged together. They have like 300,000 live stores. It's amazing amount of stores.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So I also have some questions that are answered in the QA section. So do you have one-page checkout? As far as I've seen, you don't. So I think this is the question that goes both to Shopware and Sylius, which is easy to answer.
I think Nicolas knows for Sylius because Bitbag built the one-page checkout plugin. It's not in the core, but it's in a plugin.
Yeah,
short answer.
Long story short, it could be found in the marketplace. So it's possible for Sylius. How about Shopware?
Yeah, same story. So we partnered with One Step Checkout, who is quite well known in the Magento space to deliver that kind of functionality, but not in the core.
Okay, so I was also asked a question about the business and business option. I think this goes for Sylius because obviously Sander told us a bit about the B2B in Shopware. So yeah, I'm actually the one to answer this question because as Bitback we built a B2B kit recently, which is available for our contractors, and more details could be found on our website in the products section. So basically over the years we've been working on B2B projects on top of Sylius, and we developed some kind of, let's say, starter kit, which includes popular B2B features like quick shopping or organization management, multiple pricing, advanced search, import-export integration layer, and all this specific to B2B stuff which could be found in it. It's not like it's a commercial product we sell, it's just a value added of collaborating with us as a serious partner.
Yeah, but that also means that there is no such feature or plugin widely available. It's only when you collaborate with Bitback as an agency. Mm-hmm. We know it might be a disadvantage. Although it's important to say here that surprisingly, there are B2B players that prefer to choose Sylius over Orocommerce or other especially crafted B2B platforms because B2B is so custom that sometimes you just need a framework with a solid code base and to develop everything yourself.
As many things, it's very case dependent. But if you opt for B2B in Sylius, we might be able to help you. Okay, so the next question, can you compare Sylius Shopware in terms of integrations with third-party solutions like ERP, PIMS, etc.?
Shall I
how do you integrate?
So honestly, I think it's quite similar the way you integrate. We're both focusing heavily on APIs. I think the biggest difference that you'll find is probably that Shopware is a little bit more opinionated in the way it structures data and what have you. So that might require sometimes a little bit more work. But I think in general, you'll find that the work will be quite similar. On the Shopware side, we partnered with a couple of partners that already have integrations with Shopware and then with other systems. So that's how we normally recommend connecting to those platforms. But we also have standard integrations for example, PIMcore or Arcane.
Mm-hmm. I'd say it's exactly as Sander said. The slight difference could be that, again, Sylius is more pure in terms of Symfony approach. So we didn't invent our own API. We decided to rely on well-standardized API framework from the Symfony ecosystem, which is called API Platform. And it's founded by Kevin Douglas, who is the core team member of Symfony. So it's like, again, another relationship that we could express, which makes it extremely easy and in the standardized way to connect to any third-party system. But on the same time, we have less ready-to-use plugins than Shopware. So I'd say connecting a new thing might be easier in Sylius, but you will find more ready connections in Shopware. That's my opinion.
Okay. So the next question is more about e-commerce in France. So who is going to be the winner in terms of e-commerce vendor battle in France when it comes to headless solutions? What's your bet?
Well, everything is headless now. I mean, I would say that might be BigCommerce. To be honest, BigCommerce as a company from Austin, Texas, they are following Shopify steps and they kind of battle for the SaaS customers. But BigCommerce is a little bit more oriented towards medium segment. So in terms of, let's say, business and marketing activity, I'd say BigCommerce could be the winner. In terms of open source, I guess Sylius is doing very well. but my opinion is biased. Depends on the segment that you're asking, Romain. It really depends on the segment. Yeah.
The question is obviously very general, but it actually is very interesting in terms of the aspect of choosing between cloud and self-hosted. So
yeah,
it's an open question to both of you. Why would somebody want to own the code and take care of all this hosting stuff and basically maintaining the code base instead of choosing the cloud solution?
So I think it's a bit of a myth, right? It's not about owning the code, and it's not the thing that you have to maintain the hosting, because the reality is it's all about owning your data. Let's be honest, if your data is in Shopify, good luck getting it out of there, all in. Or the ownership over the data, right? That's all up for debate, and the same goes for all the other closed source SaaS products out there. At the same time, I don't think there are many people that are actually hosting either Sylius or Shopware on their own Raspberry Pi somewhere in the basement or what have you. I think most, as I think Romain will agree with me, will partner with a very much an expert hosting company that knows how to host these platforms, and that knows how to work on performance.
So kudos to Artifact, because it's the only hosting vendor here. Yeah.
Exactly. So right. So you will go to an Artifact, for example, also as an agency, because they take care of a part of the DevOps. They make sure there is support on the weekends and what have you. So I think there's a lot of myth around this on-prem legacy setup that is partially perpetuated by some SaaS players in this space. And for me, honestly, I don't care who wins. I hope that open source wins in the end. Because the likes of, for example, a Shopify, they're eating the market. They are coming out with their own payment solution, with their own shipment solution, with their own product management solution, and it leaves very little space for other players. Well, personally, for me, I would love to see every agency that does Shopware also considering Sylius for some cases, and also leveraging Pimcore and Acne and what have you, and maybe working together with one or two hosting providers, because that way we have a whole lot more companies and developers and employees that are winning throughout Europe and beyond, than just sending your money every month to Shopify or BigCommerce.
But you know that if we had a SaaS vendor webinar right now, they would say totally opposite. They would say, "Oh my God, this open source guys, it's not sexy anymore. Who uses Linux these days?" and all these other things.
Oh,
pay me. Yeah, they are. Pay me the monthly subscription, and I will deliver everything for you. I mean, it's really well. I always say to the big merchants that choose the SaaS approach, that they will come one day to us again after 3 or 5 years on being unhappy with the way how they customize and develop their business.
Yeah, and also I think that one thing to remember, not only about the obviously the data ownership, but when it comes to customizing the code base that you don't own, it's sometimes
workaround.
very, very difficult. So you are ending up with a lot of workarounds if you are even able to customize it. So
Mikołaj, counter question. Why have you decided as the agency to partner both Sylius and Shopware? Because that's actually an interesting question. So we are partnering with Shopware for 1.5 years now, and we have seen that there were a lot of customers asking us about providing them with pretty standard e-commerce solutions, and as we were mainly focused on Sylius back in the days, we basically told them that move forward with something else. So we said, like, hey, why we lose this business where we can have another great solution which is a perfect fit for them, and we can actually help those customers.
Also, Shopware is Symfony based, which was very important for us because it was much easier to train the Symfony team who knows Sylius basically to learn them Shopware. Also, you both have similar communities and you are open source driven. We are also very, let's say, connected to open source. We are doing a lot of open source activities and pro bono work at Bitback, which is in our DNA. I feel like there is most of Sylius plugins that are crucial are developed under our Bitback Commerce organization. So yeah, it felt like it would be very easy for us to join the Shopware ecosystem, and we would basically feel comfortable there, and we can we can help the customers that we normally would not.
I'm kind of asking this question to like leave people with the thought that there is no battle here. I really would like to underline that the pie is big enough for everyone to eat. There are like 15 to 20 e-commerce platforms in the world that matter. Sylius and Shopware are part of this group. And yeah, sometimes it's better to choose one, sometimes another, and
it's just a matter of knowing those solutions, and the e-commerce market is growing anyway. So why would you even compete? So speaking of which, guys, we are slowly reaching out the end of the webinar. So I really wanted to thank you for accepting my invitation. It was great to host you. And as I said before, when we were alone, I feel like this might be a good value added in terms of leveraging that market awareness. The webinar is going to be shared on YouTube. It's being recorded, so we are also going to summarize it on our social media. And what's more, we are also working on rather advanced technical blog posts comparing Sylius to Shopware, which is going to be published sometime soon on our blog at bitback.io, which I also encourage you to read if you are looking forward to know more details. You can also reach us out on LinkedIn if you have any follow-up questions. So thank you for joining, and see you on Slack, I guess.
See you around. Thank you, guys. That was great. Yeah. Cheers. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.